This is my award-winning book, I Promise You Dad. It's available on Amazon Books for only $9.99. Part 1, Cerro de Guasapa. A cerro is a mountain. September 23rd, 1980. Meanwhile, at Cerro de Guasapa, things were getting worse and more dangerous by the minute. I remember it was Tuesday, September 23rd, 1980. We all had breakfast on the covered front porch or corridor near the adobe oven because my mother had baked quesadillas. Suddenly, we heard the loud taka 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 made by a helicopter's propellers. The sound increasingly got louder. It was coming from the north or the back of the house. On the table, cups, glasses, and plates rattled and shook violently. I couldn't see it, only hear it. Curiosity got the best of me, and I ran to the end of one of the patios about 80 meters from where we were. I looked up, and there it was. The helicopter was circling the house. It was flying so low that I could see 4 soldiers, 2 on each side, sitting facing upward with high-powered rifles. The top of the trees relentlessly fought against the violent winds made by the helicopter, and the dogs barked in defense of their home. Amid my innocence, I began to wave to them and run in circles using my arms like wings, unaware that death was upon me. Possibly that saved my life. I turned to see the others and yelled, "Wow, look at the helicopter, it's huge!" But no one was there anymore. They had all taken shelter inside the house. The helicopter circled the house once more before continuing its mission, as if searching for or inspecting something. After a few minutes, it continued its flight south to the town where the doctor lived, the one who had taken my sister Letty to the hospital 3 months before when she broke her ankle. I stood in awe at the patio's edge and watched the helicopter disappear into the distance, but it didn't. Suddenly, the soldiers began shooting down. They circled the town thrice. Then I began to hear the loud metallic noise of the bullets repeatedly, pa, pa, pa. At that moment, I wanted to run to safety inside the house, but my legs wouldn't move. I tried to scream, but my voice wouldn't come out. I wanted to help, but I couldn't. Abruptly, I could hear a loud explosion and saw a massive column of black smoke, immediately followed by fire rising from where the bomb landed. My once innocent eyes reflected the fire, desperation, and helplessness. The helicopter faded into the distance as I sat on the patio, crying with impotence and sadness. It was 5 a.m. 2 days later, when in the dark and without any warning, over 100 men appeared. Some dressed as civilians and others wore army uniforms. They angrily banged the door with such force as if they wanted to knock it down. When my mother opened it, they burst into the house with guns drawn, pointing everywhere and carrying lights that illuminated the room as if it were daytime. "We're looking for Don Elias," said one of the soldiers. "That's me. What can I do for you?" my father responded with authority. "We know that you are a guerrilla collaborator and that you give shelter and food to the guerrillas. You are under arrest for being a guerrilla accomplice," said the leader of the death squads. At that moment, another soldier handcuffed my father and took him out of the house. In complete and utter disbelief, we all followed him. The death squad forcefully lined us up against the wall. The lights were so bright that I could hardly see anything. "Who else are we going to take, sir?" asked one of the soldiers. "Let's take the girl," another soldier said, pointing at Selena. To our surprise, Reyes stepped forward and bravely announced, No, don't take her. Take me instead. So they swiftly arrested him as well. With handcuffs on, my father and Reyes, only 15 years old, were taken to the patio. A group of 10 soldiers encircled them and pointed their weapons. Meanwhile, another group entered the house and raided it. They searched for weapons or anything that could incriminate and link my father to the guerrillas for the next 2.5 hours. They started lifting mattresses, throwing out drawers full of clothes, and knocking over the closets. As soon as the soldiers had completed their mission, they left the house, taking my father and brother. The lead soldier looked at my mother and said, "Don't worry. If they're not hiding anything, we'll get them back to you in an hour." And that was how the beginning of the end began. Before he left, my father asked me to remove a hat he was wearing and told me, "It's for you, son. Please put it on. I expect great things from you. Promise me that you will grow up to be a good man, work hard, and never give up." I couldn't speak, so I nodded as they were taken away. I ran to the farthest corner of the patio to watch them go, the same corner where hours earlier I had witnessed the meaning and tragedy of war. The lead soldier was walking down the mountain in the front, followed by my father and Reyes walking side by side. Behind them were 2 soldiers who seemed twice my father's height. A few steps behind was the rest of the troop. When I couldn't see anything anymore, I ran into the house and found everyone praying the rosary. I knelt down and began to pray with them. Thank you for your support.